Hi there, thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieved this painting of a sunflower. This is part one, so be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Now, as I'm doing this freehand, I'm placing a center point in the middle of my board, and then I place the center point in the middle of my reference image. First of all, I just work out the shape around the center point, and then I use angles from that center point, then imaginary angles, and then pinpoint where these points lie, you know, of the tips of the petals. But first what I did a circle, made a big shape. So it's always a good idea to do big shapes to start with and then get smaller and smaller. So what I did then was just the center of the flower there and the overall size of the petals, the outer area of the petals. And then what I did then is measured from the center point to the top of that head of the flower to the top of the petals, and just to see the relation is correct. And then from there you've got an idea then of the actual size, and once you've got some petals in there, then you could use that then as an idea from one point to another. So you're comparing these angles. I'm also using my pencil horizontally and vertically to check the alignment and to see how one point is in line with the other. What I found is what makes it easier to draw the outline freehand is to make sure that the reference image is small enough so you can see the whole image, so you're not blowing it up too big, because sometimes you can get lost in it if you're not careful. So if you just keep it small enough to see the whole thing, it becomes a lot easier. If you would like a closer look at how I do the outline freehand, please check the description below, as I'll leave a link to many videos I have got in my channel. That's the outline done, so what I'm doing now is just rubbing out with a Faber-Castell kneadable eraser. It's really good eraser to have in your kit. Just leave a ghost image, and then I'll just go over with the white first. Just what I'm doing is underdrawing, so more pressure with the white where it's lighter, less where it's mid-tone, and then just basically just covering the tooth of the Pastelmat board. As what I use is Pastelmat dark grey, and it's the board version. Now my technique consists of 3 different layers. Now it's the outline stroke underdrawing, then the rich colours, and then the details. So what I'm doing now is the underdrawing. Now it's just a basic sort of idea of where things are, so it's just a case of moving things around, the lines I've done with the outline, and creating a little bit of form by using basic colours. Now I'm using lemon yellow, a code red, and ultramarine light, and then what I use as well will be a warm yellow with it as well. So there's 2 yellows, warm and cold yellow. Now to desaturate the yellow in places, I'm using the complementary colour, which will be a purple. Now this red I'm using is called a purple red from the Conte Paris range, and what I'm doing is adding a little bit of ultramarine in places as well, just to create a little bit more of a different feel to it. I'm just focusing on just getting a little bit of form in there, not too fussed about the value being correct or the details. It's just a matter of just getting everything into the position where it should be, so when you put the next layers on, which is more the richer colours, it's a lot easier, because a lot of this colour I'm putting down now will mix with the rich colours later and create the certain texture I'm looking for. I prefer to use the CarbOthello and the Conte Paris pencils because they're chalkier for the first stage. Reason being is it sort of fills that tooth up a little bit and adds a little bit of a glide to the actual Pastelmat board, and then when you put the next layers on, it sort of goes on more smoother, but there's still enough tooth in there to apply a lot more layers. But it's just enough. What I'm doing here is just to create that sort of form I'm looking for, and it gives me an idea that everything's in the correct position before I start putting the sort of rich colours to create the correct chroma and value, which will be the next stage. If you enjoy this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Just slowing things down to real time now, just to show you how I'm using this grey, which is a similar colour to the Pastelmat board I'm using. It just sharpens the edges up at this sort of stage, and it doesn't matter about using that grey on the edge, because when you put a colour over the top it won't muddy it. So that's what I tend to do sometimes, use a grey which is similar colour to the board on the edges initially. Now with the shadows here, I've put that little bit of red in there, which is a purple red, but making it more purple by adding a little bit more ultramarine blue, and then just to pour a bit more lemon yellow on the top of that. So you've got to play about and keep building it up and just changing it up until the colour gets to a similar sort of a feel. But like I say, it's not crucial to get things correct this time. I tend to play when I'm doing the actual underdrawing as well, just to see what might need to be done when I start putting the rich colours on. So I'm just playing about with different combinations to see if I can get a similar colour. And I know when I sort of switch over to the Caran dash colours, which will be similar, I know it'll work. So just to recap again, to how I did the actual underdrawing, is just to do it in white first, varying the pressure of the white, and then just glazing over then with the lemon yellow, and then using that little bit of red and blue here and there to create the shadows. So for a brighter area, place the white in first, then put the lemon yellow on the top, which the light will shine through then, which will glisten, so it makes it brighter. What I tended to do was like draw 3 petals in, and then just worked on those 3 petals, then did another 3, and then carry on like that until it was finished. So just focus on a few petals at a time. For the flower head, I'm using burnt sienna now with a bit of lemon yellow, which creates a goldy colour. Also I've used a bit of orange there, but for the flower head I've just used the 708 grey pencil just to get a rough idea where the placement is. It's always sometimes a good idea to actually use a grey, and then when you add colour on top of it, it don't become muddy, you see, because it's a neutral colour. What I'm doing as well is like closing off the mind, open up the heart, and see the whole of the image and feel the flower. Even at this stage, feel how it feels, and make sure you've got that sort of feeling of nature and space with it. That's the underdrawing complete. So now I've selected some Caran dash rich colours, which will give it that sort of vibrancy and the chroma I need, and along with the other colours I've used as well. So I'll be blending those with the rich colours to create subtle shadows and that. But the background colour, I'm using those 2 pencils, but first I'm using the darker blue. Just putting a flat blue in there to start with. It's just to get something down, but all that subtlety in the clouds and everything will be put in on the final stage. I just wanted to get a little bit of blue in there, so it gives me an idea then how vibrant that yellow needs to be. So what I initially did was go over the underdrawing now with a rich Caran lemon yellow, and just trying that, see what it's like just without putting the white underneath. Sometimes when you put the white underneath, it kills the chroma of it sometimes. So I'm just playing to see what I need to do. I'm just trying to get them edges right now by just putting that blue right up to the edge of the petal there, just trying to get the actual more of an accurate value. So this stage here is the rich stage. It's still a blocking stage, it's not the detail stage, but what it is to try and get more of the correct chroma and more value correct. All the details we've been put in at the end when all the elements have been done, but what I'm doing is just playing, trying to work out what's best to do. So I'm trying different pencils. So I used the Caran rich lemon yellow, but now I'm going over with the purple red now to create little subtle shadows, and then just go over that again with the lemon yellow just to soften it up a little bit. So you've got to play about with different pencils, keeping those sort of small selection though, because when you think of a petal, it's the same colour right through. It's only shadow and reflected light that's creating different subtleties. So it's best to keep it simple by using the lemon yellow, and then think of using the complementary colour, which is purple, to desaturate it. So that's what I'm doing here, is use that purple red with the lemon yellow. And in some cases I'm using the red with the ultramarine blue just to create the correct subtlety of shadow, because I'm creating a purple which is the complementary of yellow, which creates a natural shadow, you see. So I'm adding that little bit of blue to make that red purple more bluer purple in some cases. It's a case of keep playing and adjusting accordingly. Now, to get the vibrancy and the chroma of that lemon yellow, I'm using the stick from Rembrandt. It's a really rich in pigment, so it's really vibrant. So the lemon yellow from that range really did the trick, and then just using the Caran over the top to smooth it and mix it in with the other pigment. So I'm just going around in certain areas doing the same thing. So I'm just sort of opening up and sensing where that vibrancy needs to go, and then I'm adding just a little bit of that stick from Rembrandt here and there, just to lift it up in places, just to get that chroma right. Take this opportunity to thank all my Patreons for all their wonderful support every month. I really appreciate it. It does make a massive difference. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check the description below for more details. Just to go through it again then with this stage, which is the rich stage. It's not the detail stage, it's all about getting that chroma more correct and the value more correct and in balance. So I'm constantly squinting to find the values, and then I'm opening my eyes to see the colour. So it's going from one to the other and trying to get that balance by mixing that purple red with the ultramarine blue to create the correct shadows. And then the highlights, I'm using that stick and the lemon yellow just to create that subtlety I'm looking for. Here's the initial colours I've chosen for the head of the flower. It's a warm and cold yellow with the burnt sienna, just glazing over the top of the yellow, putting that in first and then glazing with the burnt sienna. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me because this will help the channel to grow. Now the darkest area of the flower, I'm using these colours here, which is black, brown and purple. You've just got to relax and just plan it out, working on several areas and being aware of the whole thing. So I tend not to focus just on one part, so I'm sort of flipping from one to the other. So when I started putting the dark areas in the centre of the flower there, I started putting the edges in because it gives me more of a gauge then to work out what the value would be as comparing with the others. And with this centerpiece here, I've created like curves in it, and then I try to create a pattern first, and then it gives me something then to follow, and then it's just a case of just putting the colours in between that sort of grid you've actually drawn there. I used a stippling effect, but just sort of tapping the colour, just sort of dabbing it and just getting a little bit of pigment off the point of the pencil in certain areas. So I'm mixing it that way rather than rubbing it. It's like tapping it, and it's placing the pigment in that way, and it creates that sort of texture you're looking for. I'm using a purple grey colour now to put in the shadow areas in between this texture, and really focus by twisting it. It just takes the pigment off. Just speeding it up quite a lot now because it's getting a long video. Basically what I'm doing here is using a warm red now with the warm yellow to really get that sort of really vibrant colour. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please be sure to check out part 2, which will be coming out next. Thanks for watching the video so far. If you want to see more of my work, here's some links that you might be interested in.